Welcome back to Crafts with Kiki, where you get to be cool and be crafty and hang out with me in the chassis. So fall is in the air, and oh my goodness, there are so many beautiful leaves outside. So I want you to go gather a bag of leaves, and then I'm going to show you something really cool to do with them, with things that you can actually find in your house. So I'll see you back here in just a minute. Go gather your leaves and enjoy the outdoors. Wow, look at all the colors of these beautiful leaves. So I hope you found some that will help you make your Harvest Festival bowl. So the things that I want you to gather around your house are a pair of scissors, a paintbrush. This could be an old one because we're actually going to use glue with this brush. We're going to need a wet, clean cloth, a mixing bowl. Now, ideally, we don't want something that has a huge ridge on the bottom, and this can be any size. A thin plastic bag similar to what you would have used at the grocery store in the produce section. Some tape. And Mod Podge. Now, if you don't have this at home, this is really easy to find at your local craft store or online. And then if you have a little bit of tissue paper, some different colors, I'm going to go ahead and use yellow and red just to be in the festive colors of fall. So the first thing we're going to do is actually take our rag and get it wet so it's a little bit damp. And then we're going to actually just wipe down the leaves a little bit. So we just want to make sure that we're getting any dirt or dust or anything like that off of the leaf, off the leaves. So I'm just wiping these down, just kind of making sure that they're clean. So when you finish doing that, I'll see you back here in just a minute. All right, so I'm finishing wiping down these leaves. Now you want to be a little bit gentle with them and make sure you don't tear them. The next step is going to be to take your scissors, and we're actually going to cut off these little stems here. So again, just be careful, and then we'll be left with the actual leaf, no stem. Some of these you might want to pull these apart actually. So I'll go ahead and pull some of these apart off of the stem so that they become separate pieces. So go ahead and finish cutting your stems off, and then I'll see you back here in just a minute. I'm just finishing up cutting off the stems on the leaves. So now we're left with all these beautiful colors. And next step, we're going to actually cut out the plastic bag so that we can double the size of it. So basically you're just going to cut along here. Now it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to actually cover our mixing bowl with this plastic. So just kind of gently cut this down the sides so we can make it larger. And basically the idea is we want this to be big enough to actually go around the outside of the bowl. So now we have a big piece of plastic. So you're basically going to flip this over and make sure that the plastic will fit and cover the entire top of the bowl as well as the outside and the bottom of the bowl. So a quick tip, we want to make sure that the bowl is in the center of the plastic. So basically you can bring up all four corners before you start taping it to make sure that the plastic will cover the top here. So just bring up all four corners. That looks pretty good. And then you can start taping it. So again, start from all four corners. You can fold the plastic inside the bowl and just tape it to the glass or the porcelain, whatever kind of bowl you have. Basically just taping it so that it sticks to the glass inside the bowl here. So we'll make sure that that is pretty. So we want to make sure that's fairly secure here. As you can see, the bowl is completely covered on the outside and the bottom, and it's taped to the inside here. So if you can imagine, our Harvest Festival bowl is actually going to be, this is what you're visually going to see. So we're going to want to put our best colors and best leaves on face up. So if you can imagine, this would be the bowl you're looking into, right? We want to put those face up first, and then we'll cover other areas with other leaves and tissue paper to kind of fill in the gaps. So what you're going to do is go ahead and turn this upside down. Now I have chosen some of my favorite leaves here. So I'm just going to set these on top for now. So as you can see, I've chosen some of my favorite leaves that I'm going to start with. And you can put them in a pattern, whatever you want to do, you are the artist. So next we're going to go ahead and get our Mod Podge. Now this is easy to find at your local craft store if you don't have it at home. And let's go ahead and make sure that you covered your table. So I've got a nice plastic covering here. This is going to get a little messy, so you want to make sure you're covering your table. Plastic is best because the glue won't stick directly to it right away. So we'll go ahead and get the Mod Podge, and I'm going to put this into my little palette here. Now you can use a plate or paper plate or anything like that as your palette. That's no problem. So we're going to actually get quite a good amount here because we're going to be using this quite often, but we can always get more. We're going to use the Mod Podge and your paintbrush to start painting the leaves and putting them onto the bowl. So you're going to take your first leaf, and now this is kind of messy, so you want to make sure that you have covered your workspace with plastic. That's the best thing to use when you're using glue because it doesn't stick and it won't actually bring up any paper or anything to the edges. So plastic on plastic. Now all I'm doing here is just painting. Doesn't need to be perfect. You want quite a bit on here. Painting the leaf. And then I'm going to set this again. You're doing this the face up with the pretty colors, and this is what we're going to do right onto the bowl. So stick it on here, kind of pat it down a bit, and then I'm going to repeat with the next one. So again, I'm using my favorite leaves here because this visually is going to be what you see when you look inside your fall festival bowl. So you don't have to get too crazy, and you can get a little messy with this. So I am not currently overlapping any of these yet because I, again, wanted to make sure that my favorite ones were going to be seen in the bowl. So if you can see, I've got these kind of all separated out, and that's fine. I'm going to actually continue doing this with some of my favorites all around here, and then you do the same, and I'll see you back here in just a minute, and we can actually fill in the gaps with our tissue paper and other leaves. So see you back here in a minute. Have fun getting creative. So as you can see, I've got all of these leaves kind of randomly around the outside of the bowl, and now what I'm going to do is continue using the Mod Podge, but we're going to actually add the tissue paper colors in different places to kind of hold this all together. So some of these are sticking up here, and that's okay. That's why the tissue paper is going to try to hold them down. So we'll go ahead and start with some different tissue paper. I'm going to start with red. Now this doesn't have to be any particular pattern or anything, so I'm literally just going to start tearing off pieces and just kind of making some different natural tears here. And then we're just going to take each piece of tissue, and I'm actually going to paint down the glue onto the leaf, and then, you know, stick the tissue paper to that glue, and then we'll glue on top of the tissue paper as well. So we'll just kind of do this in layers. So we'll stick that here, put that on, and then paint over it. again, this is not, does not need to be in any sort of pattern. This is what makes it really cool and creative. So just have fun with this. And you can actually keep adding layers on top. We're gonna keep kind of adding layers of tissue paper as we go along. So I'm gonna get a few pieces of yellow here to add to this. And again, we'll just stick that on, and careful getting too much glue. I mean, on your hands, you can always wash it off, but it will rip the tissue paper. So I'm painting directly onto the leaves and the plastic. And then we're going to cover that with tissue paper pieces and then paint over the top of that. And then we just keep layering and layering this. So again, paint it right on. Use a piece of yellow here and paint that down. So you're going to continue doing this pattern all around so that you cover up all of the plastic holes here. So continue doing the layering with the different colors of tissue paper, and I'll see you back here in just a little bit. As you can see, I've got the entire bowl covered with the tissue paper on the outside. Now we want to give this a little more integrity, so I'm going to do one more layer of the tissue paper and the Mod Podge on top, but I'm just going to do it in larger pieces this time. So that will be kind of the exterior look of the artistic fall harvest bowl that we're making. So I'm going to use a little bit larger pieces this time, and this is what the outside of your bowl is going to look like. So you can make it random, you can make it all one color. I kind of like mixing the colors up, so I'm going to just kind of start with some large pieces, and this should still be pretty sticky on the outside here. So we'll just kind of put a large piece on, and again, paint over it. Now this is going to have very, very cool texture, which makes it really fun and different and very artistic. So I'm just, again, painting directly on top of the tissue paper here to get it down. And the glue can actually be a little bit layered in here, and that's fine because it's going to dry clear. So I'm going to continue doing that with a few larger pieces, again, focusing on the bottom of the bowl to give it integrity, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. I'm finishing up gluing the final layer of tissue paper on our fall festival bowl. Now here's where we need to be patient. We need to let this sit overnight in a safe spot so that it can dry, and then I'll see you back here in the chassis tomorrow for the big reveal, and we'll see what our artistic creation became. So don't forget to clean up your mess, wash your brushes, and I'll see you tomorrow. Welcome back to Crafts with Kiki in the chassis. We let our bowl dry overnight, and now it's time for the big reveal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with tearing out the plastic. Now, most of you let this dry overnight, or maybe at least until the outside is dry to touch. So this seems to be ready to go. I am going to actually go ahead and carefully peel off this plastic with the tape here. Let's see, make sure we have all the tape undone here. So if everything went as planned, this should come out pretty clean. I can see that the glue is still white in here, so that tells me that it is still wet on the inside, which is fine. That's kind of what we want while we're peeling this off, so the plastic doesn't stick to the leaves and the tissue paper. So we just need to pull this plastic back, and the hope is that the bowl comes out clean, which looks like it's going to do. So that's awesome. Now we have our clean bowl, and the next step, so now we kind of have this put together this way. Now we're going to go ahead and carefully peel out the plastic. So just gently pull the sides of the plastic away from the tissue paper and the leaves. Cool, this is looking pretty sweet. So you'll see that you can still see the white glue. So once it dries, it will dry clear and we'll be able to see all the cool colors of leaves that we put in there. Awesome. Okay, now this, just be careful with this. It's a little messy. There's a little glue on here, so we can discard that. Wow, this looks awesome. After the glue dried, you can really see the leaves and the colors of the tissue paper. This will be a perfect fall decoration for the season. So I hope you enjoyed getting creative with me today in the chassis. Until next time, remember, there's never a wrong way to do art. Be cool, be crafty. I'll see you soon in the chassis.